Okay, so I don't even know where to start except with the fact that I am sitting here in the world's blandest hotel room surrounded by ugly beige curtains and those weirdly scratchy sheets, and my whole life just feels unreal. Like, honestly, the kind of thing you'd hear from your wildest friend after 2 bottles of wine, except it's actually happening to me. And right now. I just need anyone to hear me out because I keep checking my phone, wishing for a miracle text that will never come and it's killing me, so let's rewind. My hands are shaking just typing this. You know how people always say, you'll never believe what happened to me? Well, this is actually one of those times. My AP, yeah, affair partner, let's call him B, he and I have been sneaking around for months now. Maybe you're judging already, maybe you get it, but honestly. He made me feel alive again in a way I hadn't since forever. Being with him was like breathing fresh air after living underwater, and yes, before you say it, we both knew we were playing with fire. He had his wife, let's call her W, and I have my own so at home who thinks I'm just on a solo getaway to find myself. God, if only they knew. If only anyone knew what was really happening underneath all the polite smiles and carefully crafted explanations. So anyway, last week things started to get exciting. B told me W was going out of town, finally, and for the first time in forever we could actually have a real night together. Not rushed coffee breaks or nervous park walks or that one time we hooked up in his car like desperate teenagers. No, this was supposed to be our big night. The first time we could both just exist together without constantly checking the clock or panicking every time someone's phone buzzed. But of course, nothing ever goes smoothly when you're living a double life. The plan came together last minute. B said W was leaving, but she'd been weird about it, like she didn't tell him whether she was flying across the world or just driving to the next town over. That should have been my first red flag, right? But he swore up and down that she'd be gone overnight, maybe even longer, and that he would definitely meet me at the hotel if I booked it. I should have listened to my gut when he sounded nervous on the phone. But instead, I let myself get swept up in all the fantasies, picturing us having dinner together like a normal couple, spending the night wrapped up in each other instead of sneaking around like criminals. So I did what any lovesick idiot would do. I booked the hotel room. Not just any hotel either, a nice one with fluffy robes and overpriced room service because this was supposed to be our moment. Our tiny slice of freedom. I felt so giddy walking up to that front desk this morning, clutching my overnight bag and rehearsing what I'd say if anyone asked why I was there alone. Except then, everything fell apart in slow motion. I woke up feeling anxious but mostly excited. It almost didn't feel real that after all these months we finally had a real shot at being together without glancing over our shoulders or making up stories for our partners back home. That feeling lasted until about 10 a.m. when my phone buzzed with a text from B. I can't do it today, just like that. No preamble, no apology, just those 5 words that made my stomach drop through the floor. I called him immediately, obviously, right? I needed answers. He picked up on the third ring sounding frazzled as hell and said W had been acting suspiciously vague about her trip details all morning. Apparently, she'd barely told him where she was going or when she'd be back, just packed a bag and left with some cryptic explanation about needing space. He told me he was scared she was trying to catch him cheating, that maybe she was lurking nearby or planning to swing back early and check up on him while pretending to be out of town. Can you imagine? All I could think about was how ridiculous and yet how possible that sounded. But at this point, it was too late for me to back out. My so knew I'd planned this getaway weeks ago and kept asking about it every day leading up to today. There was no way I could suddenly cancel without raising alarm bells at home, so there I was, stuck in a hotel room miles from anywhere with nobody but myself for company and absolutely nothing to look forward to. For hours after B canceled on me, I tried everything. I begged him to reconsider, tried suggesting we meet somewhere less obvious just so we could talk things through, even offered to drive out past his neighborhood so he wouldn't have to risk running into anyone he knew, but nope, he wouldn't budge. Kept repeating over and over again how scared he was that W would catch him off guard, how guilty he felt for dragging this out, how tired he was of keeping secrets, and then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, he dropped another bombshell on me later that afternoon. Turns out W wasn't even lurking around town trying to catch him in the act. She'd actually flown abroad for her trip after all. She sent him photos from an airport overseas, called him from a number with some crazy international code, even shared her location just to prove where she was. B admitted all this in a message, not even a call. Just a stupid little blue bubble on my screen, and then said, get this. He still didn't want to meet because now that he knew for sure W wouldn't come home early, all he felt was crushing guilt about lying to everyone involved, including me. He said he couldn't do it anymore. He said he wanted out not just of tonight but of everything between us. He broke up with me over text while I sat there 30 minutes away from his house, desperately hoping for any sign that he might change his mind if we could just talk face to face. I called him over and over again until eventually he stopped picking up altogether. Now his phone goes straight to voicemail every time and his Telegram account shows nothing but radio silence. It hurts more than anything has hurt in years. Not because we got caught, we didn't. Not because W found out, she didn't. But because for once it felt like something real might actually happen between us, and instead all I got was an empty hotel room and hours of staring at my own miserable reflection in the mirror above the bathroom sink. I don't even know why I'm telling you all this, except that right now there is literally no one else who understands what it's like when your whole secret world comes crashing down around you, and you're left picking up broken pieces alone while everyone else carries on like nothing happened at all. I keep replaying every conversation B and I ever had, every whispered promise that someday things would be different, every joke about running away together if only we were braver, every kiss stolen behind locked doors while our partners sat at home thinking we were somewhere else entirely. It feels so pathetic now. All those little moments that used to make my heart race now make me feel sick inside because they meant everything to me, and apparently nothing at all to him in the end. What hurts most is knowing how easy it was for him to cut ties, the way he went radio silent like flipping a switch, leaving me with nothing but unanswered calls and red receipts as souvenirs of our affair. I keep wondering if maybe this is karma finally catching up with me, or if maybe B really loved W more than he ever admitted. Maybe he never truly wanted anything real with me beyond stolen afternoons and secret messages typed late at night while his wife slept upstairs. Or maybe none of it ever meant as much as I thought it did. The worst part is still being here, in this stupid hotel room surrounded by strangers making small talk in the hallway while I try not to cry loud enough for anyone else to hear through these paper-thin walls. Every time someone laughs outside my door or wheels their suitcase past my window, I feel like screaming. Like, don't they realize everything has changed? Don't they know there's someone inside here whose entire life has fallen apart today? But obviously they and neither does anyone back home who thinks I'm off enjoying a peaceful solo retreat instead of lying awake counting down hours until checkout so I can go back and pretend nothing happened at all. It's not like I can call anyone, not my best friend who thinks B is just an acquaintance from work, not my sister who thinks So is an absolute saint, not even some random therapist hotline because what would I even say? All day long I've bounced between wanting to scream at B until he listens, and wanting to curl up under these scratchy sheets until the world forgets about me entirely. I thought about driving over to his house anyway, to force some kind of confrontation, but deep down I know he wouldn't answer the door even if he heard me banging on it for hours straight. Because that's who B really is. Someone who disappears when things get hard. Someone who chooses safety over honesty every single time. Someone who can turn off his feelings like flipping a switch when reality gets too messy for comfort. Meanwhile, here I am drowning in feelings, with nowhere else left to put them except this stupid anonymous internet confession nobody will ever see or care about tomorrow morning when everyone goes back to pretending their lives are perfect again. I keep thinking back over every sign that something wasn't right. All those times B hesitated before answering questions about W's schedule. Every excuse he made when plans had to change last minute. Every time he promised next time would be different, but nothing ever changed except how lonely I felt waiting for crumbs of attention whenever he could sneak away long enough for a stolen hour together between meetings or errands or whatever else kept us apart most days anyway. What makes me angriest isn't even losing him. It's realizing how small I let myself become just waiting around for his scraps of affection when deep down some part of me always knew this would end badly eventually, no matter how hard either of us tried pretending otherwise along the way. Still, even after everything, I wish things had ended differently. Sometimes late at night when everyone else is asleep, and there's nothing left but silence pressing in from every angle, I find myself replaying old voice notes B sent me months ago when everything still felt new and exciting instead of tired and doomed. Someday, he'd whisper through static-laced audio files saved under fake names on my phone so nobody would stumble across them by accident someday in some future where secrets don't stay buried forever anyway. Someday we'll figure out how to make this work. But someday never came. And now there won't ever be another chance because one person decided guilt finally outweighed desire after stringing someone else along for months on end, without ever really meaning half the promises whispered late at night between fake business trips and emergency dental appointments. Nobody else ever questioned twice anyway, because everyone wants their lives neat and tidy. Even if they're built on lies nobody wants exposed, until something breaks wide open unexpectedly one ordinary Tuesday morning, before breakfast changes everything forever whether you're ready or not. I know people will say it serves me right. That anyone dumb enough to trust another cheater deserves exactly what they get. But honestly, nothing prepares you for how empty it feels when your whole escape hatch slams shut without warning. And you're left gasping for air alone while everyone else keeps breathing easy because they never risked anything real in the first place anyway except maybe minor inconvenience. Whenever plans had to change last second due to inconvenient spouses, not sticking perfectly predictable schedules like always before today blew everything wide open unexpectedly instead. I want to hate B, I really do. But mostly all I feel is numbness edging into full-blown grief as reality sets in minute by minute while daylight fades outside these curtains nobody bothered washing, since last summer probably based on how musty everything smells tonight compared with yesterday morning before hope got replaced by panic, and then finally resignation instead. And isn't that always how these stories end? With one person holding onto hope long after everyone else lets go quietly behind closed doors where secrets go stale faster than room service fries left uneaten. While you pace around waiting for something worth believing in again, Someday possibly never, depending how honest everyone decides they can afford being next time temptation comes knocking unannounced, whether anyone answers or not anymore anyway, because trust dies slowly sometimes. But endings always come faster than expected. Who tries stopping them first along the way? Meanwhile, everyone else keeps moving forward, pretending hindsight makes sense, even though nothing adds up quite right once feelings get involved unexpectedly against better judgment repeatedly, until regret replaces fantasy everywhere overnight instead. God, I just wish someone would call back tonight or knock on this door accidentally looking for their own lost happiness instead. So at least misery might have company a while longer before checkout forces everyone back into separate routines tomorrow morning regardless. Whether closure arrives first or not, depending whose guilt wins fastest by sunrise after too many sleepless hours spent wishing otherwise secretly behind closed blinds nobody else notices, shifting slightly whenever wind rattles loose hinges. Somewhere nearby, reminding everyone nothing stays hidden forever no matter how careful anyone tries being. Meanwhile, loneliness grows louder hour by hour, until eventually there's nothing left except silence ringing louder than any broken promise echoing nonstop inside your own head endlessly, after heartbreak finally settles everywhere unexpected instead. There are moments tonight where reality blurs into fantasy again. The part of me desperate enough for comfort still imagines be showing up outside reception desk, apologizing breathlessly, insisting none of this matters compared with what we share despite everything wrong about timing, circumstances, morality. Whatever other excuses kept us apart most days anyway, whenever truth threatened making things too complicated suddenly overnight instead. But deep down, even fantasy rings hollow now, knowing nobody's coming. Not tonight, not tomorrow, probably not ever again, because some choices can't be unmade once consequences show up demanding answers. Nobody feels brave enough giving regardless. What used feeling worth risking everything before fear took over faster than love faded into background noise, barely audible anymore beneath guilt, shame, regret. Whatever label fits best depending whose side history gets written from years from now, once memories blur enough hiding sharp edges, better temporarily perhaps. Completely healing entirely depending perspective, mood. Whether luck, whatever else shapes final outcome nobody saw coming earlier despite warning signs flashing bright red, everywhere hindsight reveals too late afterwards, inevitably anyway. Meanwhile, pain lingers longer than anyone admits publicly usually. Unless anonymously confessing online, hoping strangers understand better than friends, family, therapists. Anyone close enough judging truth harshly instead, often unintentionally making loneliness worse accidentally, regardless intention meaning well initially, perhaps failing miserably by end. Result ultimately regardless, unfortunately universally familiar heartbreak pattern, universally understood, quietly universally mourned. Silently, mostly always, eventually, regardless circumstance, character, fate, luck, randomness, coincidence. Timing ultimately determining. Outcome unpredictably, unfairly, unavoidably, heartbreakingly, permanently, perhaps sometimes mercifully, occasionally less tragically. Rarely, miraculously, joyfully, almost never, expectantly, optimistically, certainly, regrettably, frequently, overwhelmingly, devastatingly, heartbreakingly, consistently, reliably, endlessly, repeatedly, forevermore, possibly, potentially. Unless somehow miraculously happiness returns unexpectedly someday elsewhere, far away from hotels filled with strangers, noisy hallways, awkward silences, broken dreams, faded hopes, lost futures, unrealized possibilities, vanished opportunities, vanished love, disappeared. Affection, evaporated connection, severed abruptly, mercilessly, cruelly, sadly, ironically, fittingly, inevitably, hopelessly, heartbreakingly tonight.